The original justification was, at best, marginal benefit. The Chief Medical Officer and the government decided to overrule the recommendation of the JCVI last September, and on the basis of that it might keep children in school longer, or there might be some slight reduction in serious illness. But both of those are a bit equivocal. It's difficult to see. The main reason children, of course, have been out of school has very little to do with COVID, but more to do with regulations, which one could be a little uncertain about the justification for in most cases. And secondly, the condition has changed. I mean, the Delta variant was obviously a more severe variant, whereas the Omicron is nothing like as severe as it was. Mm-hmm. So the ground rules have changed, as well as that there has been increasing evidence that the side effects are more notable than they were thought to be. Certainly the heart inflammation, the cardiomyopathy, both the lining of the heart and the muscle in the heart is actually more common than it was. And there's been recent evidence last week from one of the big health maintenance organizations in America, the Kaiser Permanente, that the official record is in fact probably deficient by anything up to 30 or 40% of the real incidence when you look at the individual cases on the record.
That's a pretty high number, isn't it?
It is indeed.
And it's not something that we want to
it's not a very high number. It's still a pretty rare complication. But nevertheless, it's a risk. It's a risk. And you need to, as always with vaccinations and indeed any medical intervention, you have to balance the benefits against the risks.
Can I ask you, what is the risk of COVID to this age group?
Well, the risk of COVID is probably quite high, but the risk of severe COVID and the risk of dying is infinitesimal. Mm-hmm. It is really very small indeed.
But when we talk about the risk of COVID, we talk about the risk of getting a cold at the moment with Omicron. Is that the type of risk?
It might be slightly more than the cold, but nevertheless, in terms of dying, I mean, a 5-year-old has something like 1,000th the chance of dying from COVID as does an 85-year-old.
Right.
Okay. On that point, though, I mean, the letter refers to the unknown long-term effects of the vaccination on children, but people might ask about the unknown long-term effects of COVID on children. What would you say? What would you say to that?
Well, let's deal with the long-term effects. We just do not know, of course, but nevertheless, quite a number of side effects following vaccinations have only been discovered months or even years after the vaccine was introduced. Mm-hmm. The usual run-in period for a new vaccine for children is about 2 years and up to 10 years. This vaccine has been introduced in a remarkably short period of time, perhaps some might say too rapid length of time, with pretty limited testing, both in adults in the first instance and indeed particularly in children. I think the benefits to children are minuscule. The risks to children, although unknown, are still sufficiently severe, those we do know about, to make it very difficult to support vaccinating this age group.
The authorities say that vaccinating children can help control the spread of the virus to other people who are more vulnerable, such as perhaps elderly family members. Is that not something that's a benefit in itself?
I don't think the evidence is very strong to support that view. And there's another point. I mean, generally speaking, we'd like to... adults should protect children. I don't think there's really much of a case for children to have to protect adults.
In the letter, in effect, it says that the chance of myocarditis for children from the vaccine is, if my maths are right, 0.005%.
That's about 5 per million.
Is this such an issue?
Well,
that you may cause, by doing this letter, you may cause people to question the merits of the vaccination, which, as you said at the start, has been a great success. Do you think that minuscule risk that you acknowledge is a minuscule risk is worth sort of undermining perhaps the message on vaccination?
Personally, I don't. I think any significant risk, and this is a significant risk, is really not worth taking, both for the generality, which is your point, but also for the specific justification for this vaccine.